If you've been following the world of AI agent technology, you've almost certainly come across three names that have caused a fair bit of confusion: Clawdbot, Moltbot, and OpenClaw. In this explainer, we're going to clarify the relationship between them based on RedHub AI's analysis. So here's the central question on everyone's mind. Are we looking at three separate, competing projects, or are these just different names for the same thing? The confusion is understandable, especially with so many conflicting guides and search results out there. Let's get right to the point and clear this up. Our analysis at RedHub confirms that Claudebot, Moltbot, and OpenClaw are not different tools. They are, in fact, successive names for the very same open source project. The core technology didn't change, but the branding certainly did. Now, before we dig into the history of those name changes, it's important to define what we're actually talking about. The technology here is an autonomous AI agent framework. So what does that mean? Well, it's a system designed to understand a goal you give it, figure out which tools it needs to achieve that goal, and then get to work, all without you having to constantly guide it. That autonomy is really the key feature. Okay, so let's walk through this chronologically. By tracing the project's history from the beginning, we can see exactly how and why the naming got so confusing. This timeline really gives you a bird's-eye view of the project's evolution. It all began as Claudebot. Then it went through a transitional phase as Moltbot, and finally it settled into its official, stable identity as OpenClaw. It's crucial to see these as phases, not as separate projects. The project's story starts with the name Claudebot. It was launched as a small, pretty experimental framework, but what made it stand out, what really captured the community's attention, was its impressive autonomous behavior. It gained traction at a pace you usually only see with major, well-established frameworks. So why all the changes? According to RedHub AI research, each name change was driven by a specific need. The switch from Claudebot happened because its rapid growth created potential trademark risks. Moltbot was then chosen as a temporary name, a metaphor for the project molting and shedding its old skin. The final name, OpenClaw, was selected to clearly communicate its open-source nature and to signal a new phase of stability. Now, this rapid evolution, it came with consequences. Our analysis shows that the project's own explosive growth was the direct cause of the problems that followed. This quote from our RedHub AI analysis really gets to the heart of the issue. When growth outpaces coordination, identity fractures. Most projects grow slowly, giving the community and documentation time to adapt. But this one expanded so quickly that its identity simply couldn't keep up. This set off a chain reaction. First came the explosive growth, with thousands of developers forking the repository in just a few weeks. This led to a fractured identity, as tutorials and guides started popping up using different names. And unfortunately, that ambiguity created an opening for scammers who began publishing fake repositories, some of which even contained malware. For developers trying to use the project, the practical consequences were significant. You had outdated blog posts pointing to old names, community guides that contradicted each other, and a general sense of ambiguity that made it incredibly difficult for newcomers and even search engines to find the one true official repository. So, with that history covered, let's now focus on the present and establish the single source of truth for the project today. This is a critical point. While all the branding was changing, the core technology itself remained consistent. The fundamental architecture of the AI agent framework was unaltered through all three naming phases. It was only the external wrapper that changed. The RedHub AI analysis offers a very simple way to think about this. Treat the names as timestamps, not as competitors. Claudebot marks the experimental phase, Moltbot marks the transition, and OpenClaw marks the current, official, and stable identity. So, the single most important takeaway here is that OpenClaw is the official name. When you're looking for documentation, repositories, or community support, OpenClaw is the canonical name you should be searching for. We've now clarified the naming history, but that's really just one part of the story. For a much deeper technical analysis of how the OpenClaw framework actually functions, including its memory architecture and execution loops, we recommend reading the full article on redhub.ai.